Now, the story of a woman who managed to buy back her brother's house that had been repossessed by a lender makes all the newspapers this morning. It took place at an auction in Dublin yesterday, and I'm joined now on the line by property expert Carol Tallon, who is there. Carol, good morning.
Good morning.
And Carol, we're reading all sorts of accounts of what actually unfolded, but could you fill us in? You were there and you witnessed it.
Oh, absolutely, Dan. And actually, what happened initially, we thought it was going to be just another protest, of which we're used to seeing now at these discounters property auctions, the likes of Alpha Space and Merlin. So when this lady stood up, she had a speech or notes in her hand written down, and she was shaking so much. She was clearly very, very emotional and very nervous. But she addressed the entire auction room there.
This is Orla Mulvey. She's pictured in all of today's newspapers.
Yeah, and really and truly, she was just so dignified. She addressed the crowd. She explained, first of all, that the house was her brother's and that it had been seized back by the bank, and that the land was actually built on her father's land. Now, she quoted two problems with the property. First of all, that access to the land to the house up for auction was actually through her father's land, and the second problem was that water was via her father's land, and she made it very clear that any other bidder in the room would not get access to the property, so they would clearly have to either fight for right of way or actually divide a new access to the property, but also water. Now, this was done, it might sound like a threat, but actually it wasn't done in a threatening way at all. Ms. Mosley was so dignified, and in fact, we thought that would be the end of the protest until she went on to say, I'm here bidding for this property, which is rightfully ours, and I just want any other bidder to be aware of that. And to be honest, she was so straightforward in how she dealt with it, and the way she addressed the crowd, that I was surprised any bidders actually went forward, any other bidders, because the property was not such a bargain in such an area that investors would be snapping it up. But there was two other bidders.
It was in Castle is a 5-bedroom detached house in Castle Pollard in County Westmeath.
Oh, and undoubtedly it looks like a fine property. I haven't been in the property, but certainly it looks like a fine property. The type that would be, you would certainly struggle to build that for the ANV and the guide price there of 70,000. But actually, when one of the bidders who dropped out quite early, he directed a question to the auctioneer to ask was a vacant possession. Now, the auctioneer said that there was, but vacant possession normally means not only the property is empty, but that it will be given up without a struggle. And it was clear from Ms. Mulvey's interjection at the start that this wasn't going to be the case. So that bidder actually, I think maybe only put in one bid in the early stages. But actually there was a second bidder at the back of the room. And what was so interesting is that Ms. Mulvey, all the time she was bidding, did not look forward at the auctioneer to direct her bid to the auctioneer. She actually turned around in her seat and made eye contact with the bidder at the back of the room. So she had her eyes trained while she was bidding. She wasn't bidding to the rostrum or to the auctioneer. She was actually bidding to the bidder at the back of the room. So the bidder at the back of the room went as far as 75,000 euros, and then Ms. Mulvey secured it at 76. There was no further bid, and the room just erupted into applause. It was really such a heartfelt moment because there was such a level of goodwill for Ms. Mulvey in the room. So it was fantastic to see her successfully secure the property.
Yeah, and there's a photograph of her in this morning, looking at it in the Irish Independent with her husband, Martin, obviously relieved. And the estimate is that this house would have been worth about 300,000 during the boom, and her brother would have it would have been repossessed because he was unable to meet the repayments on it. That's the size of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, I also read a report there that it would have actually been remortgaged. So it wasn't seized from the original mortgage company, but actually that it has been remortgaged in latter years.
So obviously,
with a subprime lender, and it was a subprime lender that had moved to repossess the property.
And so obviously, and they did make an attempt, didn't they, to buy it directly back from the subprime lenders.
And you know what, this is actually a story that I hear quite frequently, where there's a family property going into repossession and another family member as a connected buyer tries to buy the property. And we see here that apparently GE actually rejects GE money, who apparently were the subprime lenders in question. I see Charlie Weston has a report there to say that the family actually offered 200,000 to buy this property, and GE money just wouldn't refuse to deal with them. So here they are.
Well, it said no. Well, just to clarify that now, I think it says 20,000. It says here in that report, it says it was understood the family had offered 20,000 for the house.
Oh, no, that makes far more sense, because 200,000 wouldn't have made sense at all, actually. So
nobody would pay.
No,
given the way things have gone, Carol, nobody would pay that amount of money. But anyway, it's a story it's a happy story out of it. By the way, generally, how many lots were there at the auction, and were there many sales?
There was due to be 21 lots. There was actually only one. There was one withdrawn in advance, and only 15 out of the 20 sold. Now that might seem like a negative thing when we're used to seeing the Alpha Space auction with almost all the lots selling, but in actual fact, this was quite an improvement on Merlin's last auction. The auction itself was well attended. There was plenty of cash buyers in the room, and the 5 properties that sold, I think actually 4 of them exceeded the ANV, and the ANVs were quite strong, so only 1 sold below that. And actually of the 15 that were withdrawn, we understand that 4 of them went into negotiations yesterday evening, so it is likely that yesterday actually resulted in 9 sales and not 5. So it was actually quite a positive day, because these were properties in quite rural locations. There really wouldn't have been huge demand. So it's good that the demand that was out there at all actually turned up in the Radisson Blu today.
So we say we're hitting the bottom finally, Carol. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Anyway.
It genuinely looks like that, Jeff.
Carol Tallon, property expert, thank you for joining us this morning. And as I say, good luck to the Farrellys in their success in buying back the property that got them in the first instance into the big financial